What do you thought about Soviet Union when you grew up? I know the propaganda.
When I think Soviet Union, and this is what was so fascinating to me meeting you. When I think Soviet Union, I think big Arnold Schwarzenegger type men, okay? Strong military, everybody very straight, strict, almost like East German, okay? Almost Nazi-esque in what we saw from Germany. Not all the atrocities, but very stringent, tight, no creativity, everybody living in the same type of house, no freedom to move around, no travel, no vacations, no blue jeans. These are the things that I think of about the Soviet Union that I was taught growing up. That as I went to school, I was able to choose what I wanted to do. You guys weren't. If you were good in math, you were going to be an engineer. You were going to work for the Soviet government. I didn't have to. I could do whatever the hell I want. I could be a bum if I wanted. This is what my perception of the Soviet Union was. And what was fascinating to me, Sergei, because meeting you, and then when you told me your story about your tank driving, which is why I love it so much. First of all, it's comical. It's funny. First of all, you don't look like the big military guy that I thought that would be in the Russian army. You look like somebody that would be an artist painting. And so you don't fit the part that I perceived in my mind for all of my life, even still. You also are a guy that's probably, in my opinion, you're more of a feeling kind of guy, more in touch with your feeling. You're not stringent, no emotion, which again is opposite of what I thought that Russians were. Okay. And then hearing that comical episode with the tank column, I never would have dreamed that, because we were always taught that the Russian army was very tight and strong and everything was orderly, and it was our army that was a mess. And it was our army that if you would have told that joke about the column and the tanks going the wrong way, then that I would have expected that out of our army, but not the Russian army. Never. That never would have happened there. And that's my perception. So hearing that stuff from you, it kind of makes you guys sound more normal. Like just other people on the other side of the planet.
Well, talking about Soviet Union, a lot of people are, and especially older people right now, they are kind of nostalgic about Soviet Union. Life was better. To me, I didn't feel that. I was younger. There were long lines. I remember there was nothing in the stores. I remember that was all true.
So yes, this was also my perception, that you guys had to wait in long lines for bread.
You had to, yeah.
Or we could go to the grocery store and we got to stand there for an hour determining which bread we want because there were so many selections. And then, which canned good we want because there were so many selections, and you guys had none. In fact, you were lucky. You got your bread, you got your beans, and that was it.
But everything was dirt cheap, Mike. I'm talking about like 5 cents a loaf of bread. 3 rubles was a bottle of vodka. Everybody know that. 3 rubles and 25 kopeek. Plus, everything except vodka, maybe, I don't know, everything was organic.
So I'm going to tell you, when I was a kid, though, I don't think the food processes were as much as they are now. So I think a lot more of our food was more natural then than it is now. So we had a lot more organic. It just wasn't called organic, but it was a lot more natural. It came from local farms and so forth. Like growing up, I had a milkman that came to our house. So he drove this big milk truck. It came from a farm. It didn't come through the grocery store. So our milk products came from the milkman. And then he also would bring eggs too. So it was coming direct from the farm. It was a lot different, but we still had numerous options and numerous freedoms because of capitalism just generated all of this stuff that I felt you guys didn't have.
I'll tell you, America, when I came to America back in the 1990s, it was a completely different country to me, at least.
It's 1990s is completely different than it is today.
People were friendly, prices were low, the gas was like, I lived in Louisiana, it was 88 cents a gallon, my friend.
Yes.
I drove just
and
for fun. I was driving to Vegas and back just for fun. Nothing. I didn't care because it was so cheap. And it was a different story. After 9/11,
things started to change.
everything started to change. And right now it's a little crazy.
Yes.
I loved America. I wanted to always, since I was young, to come to the United States. But my goal was not to come make money, become a millionaire. I wanted to go to Hollywood, make movies.
And that makes sense. And if growing up in Russia, you would want to go to the bastion of what was creativity then, which was Hollywood. Now it's a political agenda. It's not a bastion of creativity anymore, which is sad. They've ruined it.
Right. Hollywood used to be. Remember all these good movies? It's a Wonderful World. I remember
Wonderful
that
World.
movie
It's a
about
great
Christmas,
movie.
wasn't it?
Yes.
A lot of great movies, Casablanca. But right now it's propaganda, it's a lot of propaganda.
Even in the 80s, Sergei, we had great movies. But some of them were propaganda because they were anti-Soviet, anti-communist. Okay? But they were still good movies. We had a lot of good movies in that time. My favorite movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. And then the other two films were in the 80s too, if you don't count the next two. So how has the Soviet Union now changed now that it's Russia, Moldova, and so forth? What's better, what's worse?
Right now, because it's capitalism, everything is very expensive.
Are the opportunities and options greater then?
Yeah, the opportunities are greater. Yeah, people can move around, can travel, and open businesses, and it's different.
So you said you were traveling in the Soviet Union. Could you open a business? Or was there no such thing?
Gosh, I was young. I don't think I was a photographer. I was not a legit business. I was just doing weddings. Because I was a student, I needed to pay my bills. So that was my business. But I didn't pay any taxes or anything. I was just...
So, but could you have opened a business to be a photographer? Like, was there such a thing? Or is that a capitalist thing? So in other words, like here, you could get a camera, start doing wedding pictures, start doing business videos. You can open a business from scratch and build it into something. Could you do that in the Soviet Union? Because my impression of it was no, you could not.
You see, everything was government owned. You got to work for a government company. Like, for example, there was a big company called Chisinau Photo. Chisinau is the capital of Moldova. So let's say like Pittsburgh Photo. And everybody was working for this company if you are a photographer.
So basically one photography company, it's owned by the government. If you're a photographer, you have to go work there. There are no other options.
No, there was a lot of photo studios, photography studios.
Let's say you're getting married and you want to have a photographer immortalize the wedding. And you're in the Soviet Union. What do?
Ask somebody who had a wedding, say, hey, can you recommend me a photographer? Like they do in America, the same.
Okay.
Or you can go to Chisinau Photo, which is like Pittsburgh Photo, and say, hey, I need a photographer. Or you can go to any like photography studios. There are a lot of photography studios and hire a photographer from there.
So how is that different from capitalism then? Other than the government was owning the businesses, so they probably screwed up the big businesses because that's what government does. That's what our government does here. So how's it different?
I opened my business right away when I was in Louisiana.
When you got to Louisiana, did you immediately recognize a difference? And what I mean a difference, like when you left Soviet Union, because it was still the Soviet Union then. It was just
Soviet Union, yeah.
It was glasnost. They were opening up the borders, right?
Yeah, because I left in October and the Soviet Union collapsed in December. So I still came from the Soviet Union.
So they collapsed because you left.
Because I left, right. There was nobody to help.
You were the glue holding it together.
I know.
So when you left, what were the immediate differences that you recognized, say, in a grocery store?
I'll tell you. There was one grocery store when I arrived. That was like 2-3 days. I was in America, New Orleans. And the hostel, I was staying in the hostel. And across the street was a grocery store. It was like a CVS or like a Rite Aid, something like that. But it was a cheaper version. And I went inside of the store and I was looking at every can. I was like in a museum. Every can, every package. And I was studying. I said, okay, if they send me back to Soviet Union, I got to remember this. I never seen this beautiful, all these colors, all this, because in Soviet Union everything was, there was no packaging. You need a bread? Here's a bread. No fucking package. You need the grains or something? Here's, get your bag here. They pull you 3 pounds, get out of here. No packages.
And that's what I always perceived as the difference in creativity, that everything was the same there.
Yeah.
But here, the creativity, so even creativity on selling grain, there, you just got the scoop, put it in a burlap bag, and left. Here, you had all kinds of options and colorful packages and so forth, because that's somebody being creative to market that, to sell it.
It's a capitalism. They got a market. They sell the packaging. They don't sell what's inside. Let's say if you go to, let's say, McDonald's, and they give you, if you go, I don't know right now, but used to be, they give you a nice bag, everything in its boxes, everything is packaged, you can unwrap everything. Here you go, you buy something real organic, like organic grapes. I mean, but they don't even have a bag. They give it to you in your hands. and they wait, here's your grapes, get out of here. Or eggs. Okay, you have something, they give you 10 eggs, get out of here.
So my assumptions were correct. The amount of selection was different. The quality of your food might have been better, but we actually could still pick that same quality here, but we could pick different qualities here. You didn't have that option.
Well, selection in America was, when I came to the United States, selection was like 1,000 times more selection, to me at least.
Okay.
I want to finish the story with the store. And I was in that store for at least a couple hours. You know those glasses, they have like a mirror, which is a little bit like a fisheye? They have this.
Yes.
They have this in the store so they can see what's going on. And I was walking, I was looking, and suddenly I feel somebody's looking at me. You know, you have the feeling.
Yes,
and I look at the fisheye, and that fucking salesman was watching me. He said,
they thought you were going to steal something.
2 hours, nobody in the store, only one guy walking through the side. What the fuck is going on? And he was looking at me like that, you know, very closely, you know. And I look at him, and I say, I think I got to leave, you know. And I left.
He didn't say anything to you?
I don't remember. He said something, or I think he just watched me. He was glad that I left, probably.
Okay. That didn't make you uncomfortable, though, like you knew you were in there a long time, right? Like you didn't think, because that's the other thing that we always thought about the Soviet Union, is that it was kind of a 1984 George Orwellian type of thing. In other words, the government was always watching what you did. Your neighbors would tell on you if you did something anti-party. That is what I always perceived. What scares me is that's happening here now.
Let me tell you a little difference. This was exaggerated by America because the government always got to have an enemy in order to justify its existence. So for a long time they found an enemy, Soviet Union. Then they switched to the Arabs. All Arabs are bad. All the movies you see. Have you noticed every movie, English or American or Australian, they win. They're always the hero. And the villain who is Russian or an Arab, right?
Yes.
All the time.
Yeah.
Now coming back to Soviet Union. Okay, you say Orwellian 1984. All real estate was for free. Everybody, if you work at a company for a number of years, you get your apartment for free.
That is Orwellian. That means I'm out of business. What do I do for work? Because that's what I do.
Everybody was working. You work for a company, they give you an apartment. You got to work for a number of years. You have all your utilities are paid. The medicine is for free. All the education is free.
So question, do they actually pay you any money then?
They paid money.
Very little.
It was not much, but it was enough. It was more enough than right now.
And I think this is where it went wrong. If your house is free and your vacation is free and you're only getting a little bit of money anyhow, why work?
Right.
What's the incentive?
You know what was the saying here in the Soviet time? You guys make believe that you pay us, and we make believe that we work.
Okay. But it took away any incentive to work. So again, a man like me who likes to work my ass off, I would have no incentive to do that anymore. I'd probably become a criminal, because that would be the only way that I could use my drive for something to get ahead. So that's a drastic difference then between the Soviet Union and America. Again, though, what's scary is some of those concepts are now being instituted here.